Back in 2021, I put out this video looking back on my experience with the Xbox Elite Series 2 after having it for a year. Here's an update on how the controller has done so far after 3 years. I'll leave a link in the description down below in case you haven't watched it yet, but long story short, in that video I go over some of the problems I had with Series 2 out of the box and some of the issues that started to show up over time. So let's start with those issues first. The CK button I brought up before hasn't been an issue since. It corrected itself after a few months and it never came back. The left bumper is starting to go and sometimes it doesn't register my presses. The right bumper though is pretty much gone at this point. It barely works now. I have to press it really hard and multiple times at that to get it to register. And a lot of times it ends up registering multiple presses at once, which makes navigating the tabbed interface in Forza Horizon 5 very annoying. So much so that I end up just using the regular Xbox controller instead. The triggers on the other hand are working great, no issues at all there. The D-pad was a concern I had due to my bad experience with the Series 1, but so far it's doing well on the Series 2. I don't use it as much as the other buttons to be fair, so it's not surprising that I haven't had any issues. The back pedals are mostly good, but the upper left one feels kinda weird now. It just stopped clicking for no reason and sometimes it fails to register when I press it. I accidentally found out I can get it to work flawlessly if I press the base where it connects to the activator inside the controller, but that's just too cumbersome. As for the analog sticks, the right one works great, but I got some minor drifting on the left stick. Most games won't pick up on it. Forza Horizon 5 and Forza Motorsport 7 don't, for example, even with very low in-game dead zones, but for games that are more sensitive like Grid Legends, the car drives slightly to the left even when I have the stick on neutral. I can get around that if I bump the in-game dead zone by 1 or 2%, but it would be better if stick drifting wasn't a thing to begin with, especially on a controller that costs this much. I want to move on to the rubber grips now. I had a lot of people questioning how clean I keep the controller after watching that video, and honestly, I don't blame you. That video was never meant to showcase the controller looking brand new. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that do just that. What I wanted to show instead is how the controller looks like after using it for a while. But since it bothers so many people, I cleaned it about 2 weeks ago. I've barely used it since, but as you can see, dirt and oils are building up again. And that's the thing a lot of people don't seem to understand. Rubber builds up dust and oil over time. No matter how frequently you clean it, it gets harder and harder to get it all out. On top of that, rubber is a dust magnet. A controller that costs $180 shouldn't need as much care to keep it looking new. I have controllers that cost literally less than 1/3 of that and they look better than the Series 2 without any cleaning. Also, temperature plays a key role in how long this controller lasts. Someone left a very informative comment in my other video going over how certain types of rubber react to body temperature and fluids over time, and that's when it clicked for me. The rubber grips on both my Series 1 and Series 2 started to go in the summer. The ambient temperature went up, which made my body temperature go up as a result of that. Sweaty palms became almost impossible to avoid, and that's when I noticed bubbles starting to form underneath the grips. Within days, the entire piece started to peel off. But one thing that might have sped up this process was the fact that I kept the controller stored in the case in warm days when I wasn't using it. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done that. It's pretty much the same as leaving the controller in a furnace. Still, rubber, heat, and fluids don't mix. Having such a premium controller encased in rubber is the recipe for a short lifespan, especially when you live in places where summer is extremely hot. I had a concern over the fact you can replace the battery in the Series 2 because my experience with the plug-and-play batteries was pretty bad, but I haven't had any issues at all. I'm honestly impressed that the battery is still going strong after 3 years. I haven't seen any noticeable degradation so far. One issue I ran into on my second year with the controller is that it will sometimes disconnect for no reason. It doesn't happen too often, but it's annoying either way. It usually reconnects by itself after a few seconds, but it's a problem either way. This happened regardless of the pairing method, mind you. I've had it disconnect from an Xbox Series X, the wireless adapter on PC, and Bluetooth. With Bluetooth in particular, it disconnects a lot more often than any of the other pairing methods though. On top of that, there's noticeable input lag when you're running it via Bluetooth on PC, so unless you're playing on a phone, I recommend you stick with the wireless adapter or have it plugged in. The app has also glitched out on me twice and I ended up losing all of my settings because of that. This is an issue with the app, not the controller, but since you need the app to use the extra features of the Series 2, it sours the experience a little bit. Many of the issues I've had began to show up after 2 years, which is better than Series 1, but still not good enough for a controller that costs this much. The rubber grips are sticking out from both sides, they poke my hands when I hold the controller, which makes it uncomfortable to use. The stick drift is annoying for sure, but it isn't so bad right now, so I can easily get around it if I set a slightly higher dead zone in-game. And these are just the issues I personally had. If you scroll through the comments of my other video, you're gonna see a lot of other issues people have been having. Overall, the Elite Series 2 controllers are known to have quality control issues. They definitely look and feel more expensive, but the build quality is not on par with the pricing. Like someone said on my other video, this is the greatest fragile controller I've ever owned. It feels great in the hand until it starts falling apart. Until Microsoft figures out these issues, it's hard to recommend buying one unless you're okay with taking risks. As for the Elite Series 3, it'd be better if Microsoft moved away from rubber and went with high quality hard plastic instead. In many ways, the regular Xbox Series controller feels more solid than the Series 2, lasts a lot longer, and takes very little maintenance to keep it looking new. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in my next video.